Welcome to Longevity Unlocked, the podcast for leaders who refuse to burn out on the way to success. I'm Sherri Austin, registered nurse, executive longevity, and high performance strategist. And on this show, we talk about what most leadership conversations avoid because burnout is not a personal failure, it's a leadership risk. In corporate and public sector environments, chronic stress doesn't just affect health, it erodes decision making, performance, and the bottom line. And yet, most leaders are still told to push through instead of building real capacity. Each week, we break down the science of burnout, leadership performance, and longevity, and more importantly, how to lead with sustained power using practical, evidence-based strategies. If you're responsible for people, performance, or outcomes, this podcast is for you. Let's get started. Let's start with the truth most leaders don't want to hear. Burnout is not a mindset issue. It's not a motivation problem, and it is definitely not a personal weakness. Burnout is a financial risk, a performance liability, and a leadership threat, especially in corporate and public sector environments where decisions impact millions of dollars, public trust, and human lives. And yet we continue to treat it like a personal coping issue instead of a systems failure. Today, I want to walk you through how burnout is quietly draining organizations financially, how it erodes leaders personally, what the science actually says, 3 evidence-based ways to mitigate burnout, and how I personally rebuilt my capacity using the necessary longevity framework. Let's talk about money, because burnout always shows up on the balance sheet. A Harvard Business Review analysis estimates that burnout costs U.S. organizations between $125 and $190 billion annually in healthcare spending alone. That does not include productivity loss, absenteeism, presenteeism, turnover, errors, litigation, or failed leadership transitions. According to Gallup, burned out leaders are 63% more likely to take sick days, 23% more likely to visit the emergency department, and 2.6 times more likely to actively seek a new role. In the public sector, the cost is even higher. Delayed decision-making, compliance failures, program inefficiencies, leadership vacancies, and erosion of public confidence. Burnout doesn't just slow leaders down, it quietly lowers the ROI of leadership itself. Now let's talk about what leaders rarely say out loud. Burnout doesn't start with exhaustion. It starts with emotional depletion. Leaders I work with describe brain fog, shortened emotional bandwidth, loss of strategic thinking, increased reactivity, disrupted sleep, weight gain or loss, hormonal dysregulation, and a growing sense of disconnection from purpose. The World Health Organization classifies burnout as an occupational phenomenon, not a medical diagnosis, meaning it is caused by chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. Unchecked burnout leads to cardiovascular disease, metabolic dysfunction, anxiety and depression, cognitive decline, and early exit from leadership roles. This isn't about resilience. It's about capacity. Let's ground this in science. Study number 1, the Lancet chronic workplace stress is associated with a 40% increased risk of heart disease and stroke. Long-term cortisol elevation damages vascular health and accelerates aging. Study number 2 from the Stanford University, burnout-related productivity loss costs organizations more than absenteeism alone, driven primarily by impaired cognitive performance and decision fatigue. And in study number 3 by the American Psychological Association, high-stress leadership environments are linked to reduced executive function, including memory, attention, and emotional regulation, the very skills leaders are paid for. Burnout doesn't make leaders weak, it makes leadership expensive.